was about 6 feet, 7 feet tall. And she got out of the car because, whatever she hit didn't fall over. And she started screaming at it. And then she realized this thing supposedly had wings and everything to it. And actually, it even supposedly damaged the driver's side front fender and bumper. The big mistake, I think, like I was telling Joe, is that they should have took that vehicle and had it check the DNA in that area from hitting it and seen what she hit. But after what she hit it stood there, looked at her, and then kind of like flew off.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like a great case. And what makes it a great case is, it's not just a story. There's, some tangible physical evidence there, that you can test, and you can at least make some determination, of what it was. But, you can at least demonstrate that there's, a physicality to whatever was experienced. It's not something that's imaginatory, right? So, yeah, that's a great case. I love cases like that. And, when it's just somebody seeing something, you can't totally discount it, but witnessing an anomalous thing.
Well, have you
ghost, Bigfoot?
Have you ever seen, Michael, anything cryptic yourself? I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, and I bring it up quite often lately. I ran in 2002. A friend of mine who just got done doing his internship. He's a medical doctor. He was in the process of opening a clinic up in Puyallup, Washington. We decided we were going to go on a photographic road trip, and we went up to Canada. The Canadian, are you vaping? Anyway, we went up to the Canadian Rockies, and we researched, because we like photography. That's been a hobby of mine since I was a kid. And we wanted to go to this old Japanese internment camp. And we found the camp. We had to, take a side road off to it stopped, and then we had to hike in through the woods about 2 miles till we got what was left of this internment camp. And it was built on a base of a silver mine. And here was a couple little buildings, left of the internment camp, which actually collapsed in, each other. But across the creek, there was, remains of the silver mine, some heavy machinery. And my friend says, "Hey, Gary, take a look at that huge bear across the creek." So, I had my camera on. I had a nice 300 millimeter 2.8 lens on. I look at the bear. And then I kind of like freaked out, and I told my friend, "That ain't a bear." About the same time I said that, it screamed. And I can tell you, it was not a bear. It came, it started coming towards us. We took off running, and it put it this way. I ran back to the car 2.5 miles as fast as I could. I did turn around a few times while we were running, and I watched this creature go from 2 legs to 4 legs to 2 legs to 4 legs. Now, when we get back to the car, I'm getting into, and I'm leaving stuff out, just make it faster here. When I get into the car, I started up. My friend isn't even in the car at that point yet. He's just got the door open, getting his leg in the car. I'm stepping on the gas and dragging him. And there was the same Bigfoot or its mate or whatever was there bending a tree over. It decides it's going to take a huge rock, tosses the rock, and hits the passenger front fender, which really was hard to explain because it was my wife's new car she just bought. She was kind enough to let us go on the road trip with it, because she didn't want us to break down. How do you explain? How do you explain to your wife?
Sorry, a Bigfoot damaged the car there. Sorry.
Yeah, I got home, and she was mad. She was saying, "Well, what were you drinking?" I said, I don't drink." "What were you smoking?" I said, I don't smoke, I don't drink. To this day, she doesn't believe it, but I can honestly tell you, what I saw, what a Bigfoot looks like, sure doesn't describe what 99% of these people who write books about Bigfoot look like.
Right. Well, you observed, a cryptid, whatever you want to call it. There are certainly different varieties of Sasquatch, skunk apes or, whatever. But, Yeah, no, that's a great account. And what I was going to say, and I didn't want to, completely sound, skeptical about everything, but I love anecdotal stories. I love accounts because, while they are not the answer in themselves, they are, the pointers as to where to find the answers. Because we can't end at just what you saw. Because even you, I'm sure, probably want to know what it is, right?
I put it this way.
It's still unknown, right?
It's unknown, and put it this way. I used to go camping. I grew up in a family, we went camping all the time. Yeah, I have 8 children, or now they're all adults, but I had 8 children. We used to go camping, and I'll tell you, after that encounter, okay, I have never gone into a forest area again, other than my 2 acres of cedar trees in my mini farm. I have not had the desire to go out in the woods at all. Never after that. It scared me so bad.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of squatchers out there that would be like, where's this at? They would run at a Bigfoot because they want that experience. They want that encounter. They want to try to find that evidence. And, it's a lot of people involved in these communities have had experiences. Not everybody. A lot of people are just interested in it as a subject and just sort of, got into the cultures, within them. But, you started asking me, I think, if I've encountered anything. And, I certainly have encountered things. Just, within the past 4 years of traveling to hundreds and hundreds of, paranormal spots, I encounter things all the time. Have I encountered anything before this? Yes, I've seen UFOs. I've seen a classic flying saucer. I've seen a black triangle. I've been in places where people have seen ghosts, and I've photographed things. I haven't necessarily seen anything anomalous yet, but I've photographed a lot of stuff. So yeah, it's the experiences are out there, and even secondary photographic evidence and all that is out there too. But I really like to document this stuff and get into this stuff with anticipation of getting to the next level, trying to push the science in these subjects to where we can go just beyond the stories, which are worthy of documentation just for folklore and history's sake, but also valuable as far as investigations, So, but the stories are the beginning of the mystery. They're not the end of the puzzle, because we still need to know, what you saw, and can we discover what you've seen? Maybe, maybe not.
I don't know. I don't want to.
Maybe always a mystery.
I don't want to find it again. It's just something in part of my life. I'm glad it's over with. Now, have you noticed people? Now, I've been in broadcasting off and on since 1976. I have thought I've heard everything in all these years, being, behind a microphone and talking and interviewing. I remember at the beginning, UFOs were like 50, 75, 150 feet in diameter. Now, I've been in the last year, I'm getting reports on, UFOs huge. And now I've been getting reports from people talking about these big, huge triangles that are big as a Walmart store. Have you been hearing anything like that, or have you seen anything like that?
Well, I did see a black triangle back in 2008, but I was actually observing the moon through binoculars, and right across the surface of the moon was a black triangle, and it moved fast, as if it was like a fighter, as opposed to a large slow moving delta, which a lot of people see, but there were no lights, and I could see the vapor contrail distort the moon, but it was completely invisible on both sides of the moon. and it was traveling. I'm in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, incidentally, but it was traveling in a northwestern direction, and along that line, maybe it ended up at Whiteman Air Force Base outside of Kansas City, where a lot of our stealth stuff is at. So I don't know. What I saw, may have been some sort of military craft. What people have described as far as the large deltoids, maybe some of those are some sort of secret military platform aircraft, some sort of hybrid airship, that people are encountering. But these go back to the early or the late '80s in Belgium. I get your point about this. People seeing saucers, different eras sort of have seen different things, right? The 50s, it was flying saucers, and then they became more exotic in the 60s, and certainly by Close Encounters time in the 70s, they were multicolored, flying Ferris wheels, in a lot of cases, and then we started getting the stealth-like stuff in the 80s, right amidst us doing stealth-type stuff. So certainly some things that people are seeing, probably, some triangular-type stuff has military origin. I think we can probably assume that just if you study aviation. But, yeah, then people are seeing things as big as football fields. Do we have stuff like that? Yeah. Some people say, no, we don't have stuff like that. We don't have vehicles that can perform certain maneuvers, that defy physics. We would have there would have to have been some sort of secret scientific paradigm shift for us to be able to have that technology, and they shouldn't be hiding that technology, or they've gotten that technology from somewhere, and that's where you get to possible reverse engineering of alien technology. But I'm rambling on about the triangle question, but yeah, you're right. Different eras, different vehicles.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. I had a guest on my show about a year ago. Now, his father, and by the way, he wrote the book Aurora, about the UFO that hit a windmill in Aurora, Texas. But his father, back in the, I think, late 60s, was a dispatcher at the local police department where they lived. And what he was saying, that his dad got a phone call that a UFO landed in the hospital parking lot in that little town. Well, that's the report. Well, they sent out the patrol car, and when they got there, there was no UFO, but the asphalt was like smoking and burning in this ring about 7,500 feet diameter. They also supposedly noticed something metal droplets, like a mercury type of droplets all around this burning ring. So, I kind of was skeptical, but I did check the library. And yes, they did have a report of a UFO supposedly landing in the hospital. Now, the funny thing is that next morning, okay, because we're talking a small community, the police went out there to check the line and all that stuff, to do whatever they do in the daylight. The parking lot was re-asphalted during the night, which I kind of find strange. But now, 30 miles away from this little town where this UFO supposedly touched down and then evidently took back off, there was a group of people on this little lake that claim, and again, I verified it through, reports, through the library, going through their microfiche, that there was sightings of a UFO coming out of this lake. It's 30 miles away from this town. So you kind of wonder, well, gee, okay, this supposedly a UFO lands. Now there's burning marks in the asphalt. It gets repaved during the night. Then all of a sudden, the next day, a bunch of witnesses claim they saw a UFO coming out of the lake. It makes you wonder sometimes, maybe if that UFO had to land for some reason and it took back off and then, submerged itself in the closest lake it could find, body of water.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a great case. I would love to visit those spots, and not just to